Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is your favorite Severance podcast, the UUR. It's Rodnesha. It's Callie. We're here.
Woo.
It's late. It's actually not that late. I'm tripping. It's not late.
We're just
old ladies who want to go to bed. We'd rather be in our jammies and under the covers, chilling out. But anyway, we aren't doing that. We're here with you guys because we are ready to talk some Severance bonus episodes. We're going to talk about a tangential show to Severance.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening right now, we are talking about the show Escape at Dannemora.
Yes.
If you have not heard of Escape at Dannemora, I feel like I'm saying this a lot. Escape at Dannemora is a limited series that was also directed by Ben Stiller and also features Patricia Arquette. And so when we heard about this, because early on, I think in a lot of, press tour thingies that the cast was doing, we would hear Ben and Patricia talk about the show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just like, we should probably watch this because it seems like this is kind of the precursor to the things that he's doing in Severance.
Yes. And also this is where he first worked with Jessica Lee Gagne, the cinematographer.
Also true. And it shows. There's a lot I started noticing. We'll get into it later. You can see some of the influences with directing and cinematography in this show. So anyway, we wanted to cover it. We wanted to see what it was all about. I completely forgot that it was based on a real, true event where there was a prison escape at Clinton Correctional Facility in upstate New York. Did you know beforehand that it was?
I didn't know nothing about it. I didn't know nothing about it. Literally, as I was watching opening credits, I was like, oh, this person in this? Oh, this person in this? I didn't know what I was sitting down for.
Honestly, same. Besides him and Patricia,
right.
I didn't know nothing. So when Benicio del Toro shows up, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
All these other people are in it. I'm just like, oh, okay. We came in very much an open book, guys. So if you are interested in watching the series, it is on Netflix currently.
Mm-hmm.
It is 7. Okay. It is technically 8 episodes, 7 parts.
7 part 1, 7 part 2. I don't know why they did that. I guess we'll see when we get there. Have you watched all? I haven't watched all of it yet.
I have watched part 1 of part 7.
Part 7. I'm on episode 6. So you guys know, today we will be going over the first 4 parts. We're splitting it in half. So today we're going over the first 4 parts.
Yeah. Is there anything we want to discuss before we get into our little breakdown? Anything new happening with you?
Yeah. Well, nothing with me, but I just wanted to share. I sent Rodnesha this video. Yeah. A news story came across my social media feed, and it was a man trying to outrun a polar bear in a snowy village.
In a very snowy village.
And he had a rifle with him, and he threw the rifle because I don't know why he decided not to use it, but he threw it, and then luckily he got on an ATV and he made it away safely. And as I scrolled down to the caption, I said, it's got to be Svalbard. It's got to be Svalbard. And it's like, yep, small Norwegian archipelago, Svalbard.
Good eye.
To Rodnesha, and I was like, it's Svalbard.
And we discussed the polar bears there when we talked about that episode, right?
Yes.
So clearly, this is a thing.
Yeah, we had shared that little fun fact about them highly recommending that everyone owns a weapon, a firearm there because of the polar bears. And then I saw, I maybe we can share a link to this video clip because it's wild.
Yes. It's pretty funny and funny it's only funny because the man survived kind of way.
Yeah.
But just how close this man got to being like bear food is crazy. And he only got away because he had a what do you call it?
Like an ATV 4-wheeler.
Like a snow ATV or whatever. Like whatever those things are. Snowmobile, thank you. That is the only reason this man escaped, because he was about to be bear lunch for sure.
Yeah. And all I could think was, this is where they sent poor Miss Wong. I hope she never has to exit.
She better get some rifle training.
I hope they don't make her leave for any reason. Like, I hope they stay on the facility and they never have to venture out ever.
We don't know. I mean, listen, it seems like a lawless land up there. So who's to say? She may have to go out and fish and who knows what. But yeah, the polar bears are real out there, guys. So if anybody has any experience or exposure to life in Svalbard or know anything about this polar bear, I would love to hear from someone directly if they did. I would love to know if it's truly that dramatic.
I was like, what is this call to action right now?
I just, you never know. You never know who's listening. You never know. Someone might be like, yes, this is my lived experience. There's a polar bear behind me right now. But that might be a stretch. But we'll see. We'll see who responds. Um, Nothing much new with me. I'm starting a show. I'm doing another fringe play.
I was about to say, I was like, are you allowed to talk about it
I
yet
am
or
allowed to
no?
talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we're
Okay.
promoting for it now. So it's called A Perfectly Still Curveball.
Hmm.
It is an original show, which most fringe shows are.
Yeah.
And I'm working with half of the same team that I worked with last year when we did Bigfoot.
Oh,
For those of you who don't know, I did a musical last year called Bigfoot, the musical.
it was a
True
fun
story.
time.
That is the name. It was a fun time.
Hmm.
Sounds crazy, but was a really fun show. So, and that was my very first Fringe. And again, for those who are listening and don't know much about theater or blah 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 blah, Fringe is a festival, kind of like a film festival, but plays. So it goes on throughout the week. There's different opportunities to see different kind of hour and a half long shows. One man, two man.
And there are fringe festivals all over the world.
Yes, that's true. So this is LA Fringe. They have a New York Fringe. They have a really popular one in Scotland, right? I believe.
Hmm. Toronto.
So yeah, last year was the first time I had ever done it. Had a good time. Decided I'd go ahead and do it again. So we are in rehearsals for that, which means I have officially hit my busy season where things are going to be crazy and hectic and chaotic, and that's part of why we're having to record so late tonight because my schedule is very gridlocked for the next couple months. Outside of that, work is work, life is life. That's about it.
Well, and with that, should we get into this?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move into it.
I'd like to call this two-part series the UUR Pod Escapes Dannemora.
Ooh, will we? Will we escape
Oh,
Dannemora?
I don't know. I haven't finished yet.
I guess we'll see. Well, we're at least going to be able to get through, I hope, these first four pieces. But do you want to go ahead and break down our cast details?
Yeah. Yes. So our main cast is Benicio del Toro as Richard Matt, Patricia Arquette as Tilly Mitchell, Joyce Tilly Mitchell, Paul Dano as David Sweat, Bonnie Hunt as Catherine Scott, Eric Lang as Lyle Mitchell, David Morse as Gene Palmer, Jeremy Bobb as Dennis Lambert. And then we have guest stars across the first four episodes
Mm-hmm.
are Michael Beasley as inmate Odell or Murder Lord, Cal Calvin Dutton as Kilo, Dominic Colon as Odell, Joshua Rivera as Angel, Anthony Carone as commissary clerk and Scary Gary, Gregory Dan as corrections officer Boyd, Reggie Alvin Green as Reggie, or Reggie A. Green. I guess he got to keep his name.
Right, lucky
Um,
him.
Andrew Chappelle as J-Lo. I missed that. Okay.
Yeah.
Carolyn Mignini?
Mignini, I believe. Mignini.
Mignini?
It's going to be my
Okay.
guess.
As Eileen Mulvaney and Micah Stock as Kenny Mitchell.
I was just going to say we didn't do co-stars this time, guys, because we're covering so many episodes and there's far too many.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. And then this series is written by Brett Johnson and Michael Tolkien and directed by Ben Stiller.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump into our summary. So we are going to do them episode by episode again because we're covering four. So rather than going scene by scene, we're just going to condense it down per episode. So this is our summary for episode 1. So show opens with a big commotion surrounding the penitentiary. We see Inspector General Catherine Leahy Scott as she begins to interrogate Joyce Tilly Mitchell regarding possible relations with 2 inmates. Tilly appears scared and a bit uncooperative. That's an understatement. And IG Scott makes it clear that she already knows Tilly. and she can tell that she's not telling the truth. Then the narrative begins to shift to several months prior to this event. And we introduce Tilly's routine life. She wakes up and she's kind of looking out the window, watching a guy do a snowplow. She is waiting for her husband, Lyle, to get out of bed and shovel the snow. I might try to do this accent. I'm probably not going to get it, but just don't be surprised if you hear it slip out. Anyway, they both end up getting up, they drive to work. It's a normal day, and they work at the penitentiary. Tilly oversees the inmates working in the tailor shop. And we soon see that Tilly is carrying on an affair with one of the veteran tailor shop inmates, David Sweat. And it's clear their secret is not so secret to anybody else in that room. We are then introduced to Richard Matt, an inmate with high status on the block, as he is talking with his contemporary CO, Gene Palmer. They discuss business, including a painting that Matt is supposed to be doing for Palmer's girlfriend in exchange for some favors for other inmates. During their exchange, a newbie, Angel Chavez, oversteps his bounds, and Palmer has to prevent an inmate beatdown from Matt. Back in the tailor shop, we see that there's trouble in paradise as Sweat is not willing to continue these closet rendezvous with Tilly. People are catching on. It's getting embarrassing and very obvious, so he shuts it down. Over the weekend, Lyle confronts Tilly about the rumors because they're getting back to him as well. This is how not secret it is, guys. Like it's truly not. So Lyle confronts Tilly about the rumors, and she is none too happy about it. And she basically denies. It's not true, Lyle. Who are you gonna believe? Who are you gonna believe? Me or some room? They don't even know. Sorry. Okay, this is it. This is happening. I just hear it in my head now. Anyway, back at the prison, Sweat pleads with his mom on a phone call and asks her to request a transfer on his behalf to another prison. I think between what he's in for and the situation with Tilly, it's becoming an uncomfortable situation, and he's really hoping that she can get him transferred. They get into it on the phone. She isn't really being cooperative, don't know what the dynamic is there, but clearly he's fearing for his life if he continues to stay an inmate in this prison, especially because the reason he's there is that he killed a cop, question mark?
Yeah.
At least that's what he's being called, a cop killer. So Monday rolls around. Sweat has changed his tune and fervently sews Tilly an apology gift. They make amends by resuming their daily romp in the closet. And when they finish, Matt decides Sweat shouldn't be the only one to have a little fun. And he lets Tilly know that they should be friends, just have another friend. We jump back to the present day where an interrogation is happening, and we're seeing IG Scott sitting with Tilly again, and she is doing a great job building rapport with Tilly, gaining her trust. And Tilly is doing a horrible, terrible, horrendous job of lying about the escape and her involvement. We go back to the months prior where we find CO Palmer coming in to warn inmate Matt of a shakedown that's about to happen in 5 minutes. He takes him to a hidden corridor to hide his paint supplies so they don't get confiscated. And this is where Ricky Matt discovers that there might possibly be access into these tunnels from his cell. And the episode ends with a plan brewing in his brain. So that's episode 1. All right, let's talk about it. So first off, Callie started watching the first few episodes before me, and then I rapidly caught up. But I remember talking to Callie, and she was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this. It builds. There's a lot of build in the first couple episodes, I want to say, for sure. Well,
Okay. You further ahead than I am.
well, I mean, I know when I got to episode 1, I was like, oh, I think I get what you mean, because it moves. I don't want to say it moves slow, but like the pace is very much a simmer, right? Like you can tell that they're ramping up to something. Obviously, we already know something happened because we start from the end, right? And then go back to the beginning. So we know it's building towards something, but it's like a slow simmer at first as they start to kind of like introduce these characters, these dynamics that are in play. But there's a lot of setup and a lot of, okay, where's this going?
Right.
How did you find our main 3 characters in terms of the actors that are portraying them?
I mean, I haven't looked up anything about the real people, but if we're just talking about characters, yeah. I mean, Benicio del Toro is scary, so yeah, I believe him as being head honcho.
Yeah. I think that was the biggest thing when I saw his face. I was like, "Oh no!" Like I don't know. You don't know with him because he has that persona that like it's like that flip a switch persona where he could be the nice guy, he can be charming, but then he looks like he can murder you. And I guess that's the point.
Well,
But
his nickname is Hacksaw
oh yeah, that's true.
in the show.
That's true.
So, yeah, I mean, accurate.
I did actually see cast photos. What I'm saying, I did see photos of the real people. Benicio's a bit of a stretch. I think he's a little more handsome than this guy, or maybe has a little more like swagger on the face than his real life, the person he's portraying. But Paul Dano definitely looks like the dude he's playing, especially with the head shaved. And Patricia Arquette definitely looks like some version of the real Joyce Tilley. So I
That's
think they were pretty
funny.
spot on in terms of the visuals. Um, you mentioned Ricky Matt being an artist, which I did find interesting as well.
There's a scene in here where he is apparently giving Sweat art lessons. And
Oh, that was a good scene. I'm remembering now.
he's like they have this whole exchange about like him forgetting to consider where the light is in his photo and he left out shadows. And then Sweat tries to play it off like, oh, I kind of like it this
Yeah.
way. And he's like, no, don't do that. Don't act like you did that
He's
on
like,
purpose.
don't
Like you
make a
meant to
mistake
do it.
and
Like
justify it.
you made
Yeah.
a mistake. Yeah. And so he tells him, he's like, David, learn the basics. Then if you want to go disco, f- it, go disco. And I was like, go disco.
Yeah, that
But
was a fun line.
yeah, I just love that he's like clearly a murderer. Like his name is Hacksaw, but also he's like the Bob Ross of the prison because we learn throughout the episodes that he's not the only person. Sweat is not the only person he's giving lessons to.
Right. Yeah, it is interesting because he takes it so seriously, like the art thing. Like it's
Hmm.
not just a I mean, it is a pastime, but obviously the fact that he gave Sweat grief about doing it right, it's like, no, this is respect the craft. Like he clearly was
Right,
like, no, 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 respect the work, respect the art, learn the basics. So it was interesting to see how fixated he is in the craft of art itself. It's not like just a little pastime to like doodle and, make some
right.
sketches and kill some time. Like he clearly it's an outlet, but it's also like a calling. It's weird. You could see another life for Ricky Matt if he weren't a crazy killer.
Yeah,
So I did want to just address the dynamic between him and Co.
Palmer.
Palmer. Thank you. The whole time I've been trying to figure out their thing. Like I know their thing, right? But I think, well, for one, with this episode, I remembered thinking, when's this gonna break down? I guess I was trying to figure out how close are they really? When does the CO side of him show up? Does he ever show it with Ricky? When because we saw him with Angel, right? When Angel tried to step into their conversation and he like bucked at him and
Yeah,
kind of spit on him or whatever, which I was like, oh, okay, that was unnecessary. So he can clearly be that kind of CO, but I just was trying to figure out if there's going to be a point where Ricky Matt pushes him too far and he has to check him. And I kept waiting for that to happen because I was just like, I mean, they
yeah.
might be cool, but I just am waiting to see like, is there a threshold with his cool where the two of them are concerned?
Well, as an avid prison documentary watcher,
Okay.
I will say there is always a moment like that at some point,
Right.
right?
And I
Because
think
they
that's
have
why I
to.
was like clutching for it because I was like, oh, he's going to ask one too
Yeah.
many favors or he's going to do one too
Yeah,
many
he gets
things.
too comfortable and then needs to be put in his place.
Exactly. As of right now in this episode, it has not happened. They seem to have a
No.
very cool dynamic. He's obsessed with art, period, Co Palmer,
Yeah.
which I find again very interesting because like they're in a small town, and that's not to say you can't like have artistic taste or have these interests or things like that, but they're in a very small town. Obviously, there's not like some big art scene or things like that. So it's like this is his only way to try to get that kind of like
Right. He's like not going down to the city on the weekend to go to art museums, but he
right,
has inmate Matt who's
right.
got, he's done like portraits of like Obama and Oprah and hanging in his cell that are pretty good, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
And
He's
we'll
painting a
see,
picture of his girlfriend for this
right.
gift.
And we'll see later in another episode too that it isn't just because at first I thought maybe it was just like Ricky, but we do see later that he just generally is an art admirer and very much appreciates it. So, because it's demonstrated with a wholly different person. So,
Mm-hmm.
I just found that I find all these little dynamics of these characters very interesting. They have these very relegated lives. I don't think this is the episode where we see Tilly and Lyle go to the War of 1812 Museum. I think that's maybe episode 2. But this is
That's
all to
next episode.
say, like we said, there's not a lot of nightlife. There's not a big, social scene where they are. So the things you can do, the stuff you can get into is very limited. So you just see these little moments and glimpses of other interests that these folks have, and it's just interesting. My little initial note was from Jump. I was like, I see the Ben Stiller handprint in terms of like the use of camera, even the little dolly push up, that dolly push up to reveal the prison. I was like,
Yeah,
that was Salt's neck. That's Salt's neck.
it was
That was
Salt's
that
neck.
whole
Yeah,
same intro scene. And so I kept noticing all these different shot setups and choices that now stand out to me from having seen all the episodes of Severance that we've seen. He clearly has a style, and now I can see it forming in this limited series. And he's going to take a lot of those little tricks
right.
into Severance,
Yeah.
or also Jessica Lee Gagne, because
I was just gonna
was
say, and
she
again, like just
DP on this one, or was she
mm-hmm,
okay?
whole thing.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see the style. You can see obviously they work together well. Why he's bringing her over to Severance with him. So I get it. I'm seeing the little echoes. It's kind of interesting to be able to pick up on that kind of stuff now, where I probably wouldn't have before.
That's funny.
Okay. I was not prepared. I was not prepared for Patricia Arquette to be getting railed so much in
Oh
this
my
show. I was not
gosh. Oh
prepared.
my
I
goodness. You
just no one could have
guys.
prepared me for that. No one could
Yeah.
have.
Well, so you guys are prepared if you haven't watched it. There's a whole lot of sex. There's a whole
Yes.
lot of sex in this.
Yes. And you will see Tilly every which way you can think to see a person in a closet doing sex acts.
Tilly's got a kink.
Boy,
Tilly's got
does
a
she.
few kinks.
Yeah.
And Tilly is not getting her needs met at home. Okay. She not.
Oh, I can't get into it. There's more that's going to come. There's more you're going to find out about Tilly if you haven't finished 6, right?
No, I finished the first 5. 6 is the
Okay.
next one.
Wait for it. But this is all to say,
Hmm.
man, oh man, Tilly, what a character. What an enigma. I can't quite get my head around her, especially at this point. I'm trying to figure it out. At this point, I'm just like, all right, so she's married to this dude who looks like he belongs on King of the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Like just a very Joel Blow average.
I mean, to be fair, they both do.
Yes. No one's a superstar model in this town, right? Very average looking folks. But like also Lyle seems a little maybe not as quick on the uptake as some others might be. So I'm so curious about their marriage and their dynamic, because at this point, it very much seems like she just doesn't care to be around him if she doesn't have to. Like the respect
Yeah.
she has for him is very minimal. Obviously, if she's banging dudes in closets, prison inmates, by the way, in closets,
Right.
clearly her respect for her husband is very minimal to none. But I just keep wondering to myself, how did they even, is this one of those situations where it's like, oh, we've known each other since high school. This is the only person I've ever been with. And we got married and now, we just exist together. Like, I don't know if it's that kind of thing. Because she just seems so put off
Yeah.
by Lyle. And poor Lyle,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly feel a little
Yeah.
bad for him. He just seems so
Yeah. More and more so as the series goes on, for sure.
just stepped over, walked all over. And what frustrated me even more in this episode in particular is when these rumors start going around about Tilly,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got a friend. It's the same guy that works in Tilly's in
It's
the Taylor room,
Lambert.
right? Yeah, yeah.
It's Lambert. Mm-hmm.
So him and Lambert are at a bar and they're having drinks, and he's trying to like gently say, hey, so, there's these rumors going around. I don't know if you care, but I just feel like maybe you should know. And this dude is just hardcore like, no, not true. No, it's just lies.
Well,
It's da da
and
da.
I mean, Lambert's kind of a though, because he
True.
also is like, nah, it's just rumors.
He
It's just
walks around it.
rumors.
Yeah, he does
He's
dance
like,
around the point.
why
Yeah.
even bring it up then?
True, true. I don't know if he was worried about like throwing a wrench in their marriage or whatever. It was one of those weird moments where you're like trying to give your friends a heads up about something, but also you don't want to be the home wrecker.
Right. He's like, you didn't hear it from me, but these are the rumors. But it's okay because they're just rumors. So what are we talking about then? You know?
Lyle, especially, he was like, I'm just going to keep sipping my beer. Clearly, you said they're rumors, so they must just be rumors. And I'm not going
Right.
to think to the contrary. But I think it was more so the way he kind of was like, there was a look in his face that I was like, does he really believe that they're rumors? Or is he just kind of like, I don't feel like digging. So I'm just going to say it's
Yeah,
nothing.
I got the impression from Lyle that this was not the first time there had been rumors, and also that he was just like, mm-mm,
Right.
we're not doing this.
Right. That's what it felt like. Cause I'm like, Lyle, I don't think he's that dumb. Like he seems kind of but I don't think he's that dumb. I think it's more of a unwillingness to look and see the truth. And that happens, but it was just kind of frustrating for me because I was like, Lyle, ugh, ask questions. And like it's a prison. And like, is that wholly out of the realm of possibility? And like, I don't know. I just would have been, at least if it were me, asking myself a lot of questions like, when's the last time I had sex with my wife? And I don't know why all of a sudden there's rumors about her having sex a lot at work. And well, we haven't had sex in a while. And she doesn't seem like she wants me to touch her. I don't know. I just feel like that would have had me asking more questions of myself. But again, if you're in denial, I guess that's that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You said Tilly may be a criminal in the making, but she's got good taste in music.
Oh yeah, soundtrack, right? And all of the so she comes in, they establish very quickly that she's like, I just love music. And so she comes in and she's like, all right, boys, what'll be today? Rock or
Hip
hip
hop.
hop or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And she's like, how about pop? And she like turns on like, I don't know if I don't remember if it's like a Taylor Swift or Megan Trainor or something in the first
Mm,
episode. I know Megan Trainor comes on. She,
yes.
and you noted it here too, but later in the episode when Chains came on. And
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, I know this, I know they're not playing this song, right? So it starts like, and you think it's just, we have discussed what this is called, this word, but it's out of world music, just,
Oh,
accompanying.
no,
But
I
then
know
you
what it is.
realize this
No,
has
and it
come up
just went out
in
of
this
my head.
podcast multiple
Oh my
times.
gosh. It's every
You
time
look
we
it up
need to
and
record, and I know what it is. It
yeah,
is oh wait,
well, you'll find it, but
yep.
you find out that it's in world and there's a scene with Tilly and Lyle's like, what
Diegetic.
it,
I heard the etic
there you
part.
go,
Okay.
diegetic.
Diegetic.
So it Lyle is like, what is this crap? And tries to turn the radio, and she's like, it's changed by Nick Jonas and I like it. And I was like, why is she listening to,
Nick
I mean, she's
Jonas.
listening to all of this, but I was like, I like it. I haven't disliked anything she's played so far.
No, there's been some fun stuff, but yeah, the song in particular definitely was part in world. I'm just enjoying the song, but also very much the lyrics were speaking to the chains she's got Lyle wrapped around, and then it interweaves and intercuts between her and I think Sweat too. So like the
Mm-hmm.
chains around them, it was very purposeful. But
Well,
I don't.
that's why at first I was like, what? I know they did not choose this song. What the hell? But then it cuts to her defending the song.
Right? And also didn't expect Nick Jonas chains to be such a purposeful tune that's like moving the narrative.
That's so funny.
Okay, help me understand something. And there may not be more to it than what was there, but I wrote it down because I was just curious.
Hmm.
The scene where Tilly sees the guy coming out of the ice cream shop with the two younger girls, and they're just like laughing and tee hee hee, and she's
Yeah.
just staring like a creeper. And clearly, these are women he probably is like, having a threesome with or whatever. And then he comes around the car and he sees
And
her
it like
staring and he like
pauses on her.
does a little hat tip and like, I don't know. I was thinking, does she know this guy? And then the rest of the episode happens and you never see this guy again. So I was like, what was the purpose of this scene?
Honestly, that was one of a few scenes that made me be like, see, this is slow. Because why was this here? Because I get it. Okay, she's fantasizing about another life, whatever. She's not happy with hers. I think we get that already without this.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
that reminds me, yeah, that does happen after they go to that museum. So that is in this first
Oh, that's
episode.
right. Okay, that is in this episode. Okay, the
On the
H.
weekend,
Oops.
Lyle takes her to a little tiny museum
Where
in the
they go up
next
to
town
some
over.
Plattsburgh, I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
We're gonna go up to
Plattsburgh.
Plattsburgh and go to check out the war movies in the museum.
Yeah. And then that's where Lyle decides he is going to confront her about the rumors,
Oh gosh,
right?
that's right. Yes, yes.
As they're sitting in there, and she's like, I gotta make a suit for the superintendent, and Sweat's my best guy, so of course I'm working with Sweat, right? Jesus, Lyle.
Jesus, Lyle.
Um, and then she storms out, and that's where she sees this guy. I think the storm out could have been enough. I don't think we
Yeah.
needed that scene.
Yeah, because it just was confusing because the way it went, I was like, does she know this dude? Does he know her? Were they old
Right.
lovers? Is there more there? And then again, this episode and several others go by, and I'm like, I guess this dude did not mean
Hasn't
anything
come back up.
for
Yeah.
anything. The only thing I could think was like, okay, I guess maybe she's seeing, I couldn't tell if she was seeing him and wanting to be with him or just seeing him and envying that he can be this dude traveling around with two girls and
That's what I think.
okay.
That it was just more of just like, look at his free life.
Yeah, they could have sped that up or cut it
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
I think we get it because it took so long. Literally.
Yeah, that was the problem. He slow-mo walked from the ice cream shop and then past her, and then it was even slower as he tipped his hat. And I was like, why is this going on for so long?
Right? And it like lingered on all three of them for the longest time because they're like
Mhm.
laughing and taking licks of each other's cone and and oh my God. And then he finally looks over in her direction and then
You
she's
know
just
what? Just made me think of, as you were saying that, it reminds me of like a Viagra commercial, that part, right? Because he was an older looking gentleman too,
yes,
with
yes.
these young
He was
girls.
clearly much older than the girls he was with. Yeah.
And it's like, look what you could have if you just take a blooded
You
blah.
too could have all this
Hmm.
with Cialis. That's funny. But okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something. I was like, I don't think there's much more there, but I just remember coming to it and being like, okay, what's with the scene? Eh,
Yeah.
does this matter in any way? No, I guess not. Okay, I don't have
Um,
much else. What else do you do?
So we've talked about the accents, but I don't quite understand why Lyle and Tilly are Midwesterners. I mean, they must not be from there. Well, I thought they must not be from there. And then later on, in one of the later episodes, Tilly mentions how long her family
Yeah.
has been there. So I'm like,
Hmm.
where is this pocket of upstate New York where they sound like
So,
Midwesterners, but actually only those two sound like it. Nobody
mm,
else in the show sounds like that. None of the other
this makes me want to
CEOs.
look up the real lady and see
Yeah.
if she sounded like that. I don't know much about upstate New York, so I don't know how the accents tend to go up there. And it seems like they're almost in. And so that was the other thing too, is I was like, it's
Yeah,
kind
they're
of
really close to
Canadian,
Canada.
it's kind of Midwestern, because there were definitely some times where they were like sorry and da da da. So I was like, I can't quite
Yes.
tell what this is.
But again, only Tilly and Lyle have that
True.
accent. None of the other townsfolk do. So that's why I was confused.
That is, yeah, that is true. Mm,
And I was like, was this a Patricia Arquette choice? And then who plays Lyle? He was just like, sure, let's do it.
we'll do that. Yeah.
I'm there with you
I don't know. I don't know.
because it's super strong. It's super strong.
It's very strong. Yeah. And if she hadn't said that thing later about her family being generations long in the
Yeah,
tooth in that area, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, I don't know. It
it's a
is it
choice.
is a choice and it lingers in the brain and on the palate. So
Clearly.
effective, I suppose, to some degree. But yeah, it's true. Nobody else really has it. And I'm thinking, does anyone have any kind of different accent? Everyone else just sounds like how they normally would as themselves.
I'll say this. My father's from Albany.
Okay.
Palmer to me has some subtle upstate New York isms
Okay.
in there.
Okay.
I would say, from what I know, at least from my family, there's not many things that stand out like as a really strong, distinct accent for the area,
All right.
if that makes sense.
That makes
I
sense.
always, I always know my dad is an actor too, so he's like trained to get rid of some of that, you know? So I know like when I speak to like my aunt and stuff, there's things that are a little bit stronger, but
But that's
nothing that would lead me to.
nothing
That's
as
why I was so
distinctive.
confused. I was like, I don't know much about upstate New York, but what I do know of like Albany and Ithaca is not that.
Okay, I'm gonna have to see if there's any recordings of the actual Tilly lady, just
Yeah.
to see if this is rooted in anything, or if Patricia Arquette truly did just say, I've been wanting to try this. I don't know, it's kind of Canadian, but also like pulls a little from Michigan. I just really want to try it, but can I try it?
It's Nova Scotia, you know. That's what it really is.
We'll see. To be continued. We'll come back in part 2 and tell you guys if it's there or not. Anything else with episode 1?
No. Should we move to
Yeah.
Oh Lord, this one's gonna be interesting. Okay, so episode 2, aka part 2. I don't know why it bothers me so much that the episodes don't have individual
Same.
titles.
Same. And especially since they split the you guys, we were really bothered by the splitting of part 7. It makes no sense. It just
Right.
makes no narrative sense, at least as far as I can tell, and it doesn't make any credit sense. Whatever.
Okay, anyway, episode 2 opens with inmate Matt dreaming of his freedom. We see more sprawling panoramic views of him imagining himself outside the prison walls,
Mm,
riding a horse.
very into this horse.
Yeah, very majestic. And then we jump to Tilly, who is picking a fight with her husband Lyle about him floating with the new coworker. I guess she's part of the security
Mm-hmm.
team checking
Mm-hmm.
the new people in. But it's very clear she's projecting
Yeah.
about her own guilt with her
Yeah.
affair with Sweat, and she says like, just so you know, like, if you ever cheat on me, I'll know. So back in the tailor shop, Tilly is supervising the inmates, and there's more and more rumors swirling about her relationship with Sweat. And administration has received a anonymous letter from another inmate outing Tilly and Sweat. And Sweat gets removed from the tailor shop. And not only is he removed from his job at the tailor shop, but back in the cell, he is moved from being next door to Matt down to the lower floor of the cell block to a rougher and louder area.
Rowdy.
Yes, it's rowdy AF, and he is furious about it, to say the least. So Matt sees his opportunity now that Sweat is out of the picture, and he starts cozying up to Tilly, and he offers to help her with some issues she's having with Sweat's tailor shop replacement, who is Murder. This inmate's nickname is Murder, and she made it clear that she did not want him. She was like, "Do you know what they call him?
Thank
They call
you.
him Murder."
Thank you. I was gonna do it.
Yeah. And Matt starts to like build rapport with her and make a connection through them both having children. He talks about the picture of her son that she has out and says that he has daughters, and he hasn't spoken to one of his daughters in 6 years because she's in Mexico with her mother, and you can't make long distance calls to Mexico. And this compels Tilly to get her number, call Mexico for him, and then she attempts to pass along a message to to the daughter, that Matt still loves him and he's doing okay because I take care of him. I'm his friend and I take care of him. What? You're leaving out some important information.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Sweat is struggling dealing with the conditions in his new unit. It's noisy, it's chaotic. He has no privacy like he did up on the top,
Nope.
and it's wearing on him quickly. We just see some more kind of tension build up. One of the inmates sees that he is reading Call of the Wild, and he spoils it for him, and that is a fun
This
little
is
fight.
Reggie. This is Reggie.
Yes, this is Reggie. Yes, that's Reggie. Reggie, damn it. He's just trying to read. So we're cutting back and forth between scenes of this and more Taylor shop progression. So the next Taylor shop scene is Matt brings a portrait that he has painted for Tilly of Tilly's dogs. He saw a picture of them on her desk, and that's his thank you for the favor she did. And Tilly is very touched by this and very clearly he now under his thumb, right?
Yeah,
Like you're like, oh damn, he's got
he
her.
gotcha.
And so earlier in this episode, Matt is able to find an excuse to go back to the hidden corridor, and
Mm-hmm.
he like sneaks up on Sweet through the grate. And so he tells him like, "Hey, I think we can get out of here."
Mm-hmm.
And Sweat is like, "No." Well, right, this happens before Sweat gets removed from the tailor shop. So
Right.
now by this point Sweat is like, "Oh, I got to get out of here. I'm sorry. I'm back on the plan. I'm back on the plan." Um and the episode ends with them beginning to kind of put their pieces together for their escape scheme. Um, and also, there's some beginnings of how are they going to try to involve Tilly and get her
Mm-hmm.
help.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't write this part down, but one of the things that I just thought of as you were saying it is the thing I found interesting with Sweat was how the degree to which he was in or out of, things with Matt or even with Tilly literally had to do with like these phone calls he was making back home. So clearly he's on his own objective of trying to get transferred, of trying to get out of the prison. And I couldn't tell if that was just about his sentencing and labeling and that sort of thing, because I feel like that's going to follow you wherever you go, especially if that is indeed why you're in prison, right?
Right.
If you're a cop killer, then other cops is going to tell the other cops that you a cop killer. So I couldn't tell if it was really about that or if it was just the setup there, that he was over the stuff with Tilly, that he didn't like people knowing all his business.
Yeah.
And that's why he wanted to leave, because that's what it kind of seemed like in episode one.
Hmm.
And then once that falls through, all of a sudden, oh, now I want to get back with Tilly. Oh, we can keep hooking up again. I was just mad. Then he gets another phone call opportunity. That doesn't go well. Now I don't want to do the plan
Hmm.
with you. I don't want to have anything to do with your blah, blah, blah. Like it just keeps ebbing
Yeah.
and flowing based on that.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out either because it seems like he has good standing at this prison. And from all
Right.
I can tell is that the only like negative CO interactions he has is with there's one in particular who's just like a dick to everybody.
Right. I think they call him Red,
So
right? Because he's a
yeah,
redhead dude. Yeah.
yeah. And I got the impression that what he was telling his mother on the phone in the first episode to try to get her to help with the transfer was not true. Like he
Mm,
had some other, like maybe it was more related to Tilly and that, not wanting to get caught up in that and trying to get
right.
transferred that way. I feel like there were easier ways to avoid Tilly because you could also just ask for a different job at
Right.
prison.
Exactly. The weird part was that it read to me like he hadn't been there as long as he's been there. He's been there long enough to have like one of the better jobs. He's been there long enough to have like
Hmm.
a good, clean record and be known. So I'm like, if you're really having that many issues with cops around the prison, I feel like you'd be having more run-ins with people and beat downs and confiscations and
Right.
all this other stuff. And it seems like you're chilling. So I don't understand the urgency to
Yeah.
get out of here. The only thing that seems different is this relationship with the boss. So
Right. And he's been trying this for several months, we find, because he tells his mom like something to the effect of like, well, yeah, you said that last time I talked to you and you said you were gonna write that letter a month ago and blah de blah.
mhm.
Also, Tilly even mentions that Sweat has worked at the tailor shop longer than she has. So
Exactly.
he's been there a long time.
I couldn't make that was one thing that kind of stuck in my craw because I was like, I don't understand what this transfer thing is all about. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Um, and that was the only thing I could equate it to because again, he seems to be in good with one of the lifers who's been there forever, right? You're in good with Ricky
Hmm.
Matt. You're one of his boys. Seems like you'd be fairly untouchable to some degree, even with the COs. So I don't, that part didn't make sense to me. And then the other thing I was trying to figure out too, do you think that he sincerely, I don't want to say loves Tilly, likes Tilly, or is he just hooking up with her to just kill some time and get her off his back? There's a point where Matt's confessing to him and he acts like he doesn't care.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out, does he like Tilly or does he not, and it's just like it's just a chick
I
to
don't get that
bang.
impression at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't get the impression at all that there's anything real, which is why my only note was like, why is Tilly so dumb? She's so dumb.
She is dumb. She sees what she wants to see. And I really am curious as to how this relationship developed because who initiated? Like, do you think she just kept coming on to him and coming on to him and then he finally was just like, "All right, if you want to jump, jump." Or do you think that he like approached her and was I don't I how does or was there another guy before Sweat? And then he went away and then she was like, "I need a new guy."
That's what I think,
Okay. Okay.
based on Lyle's reaction.
Mm,
I don't think this is the first time Tilly has done this. Maybe
mm,
this is the furthest it's gone.
okay. Yeah. Anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
Tilly is dumb and I Tilly, well, okay. You know the whole saying, don't where you eat, right?
Hmm.
Why are you doing this when you're at your job with someone in like and other guards are there
You're at your job that clearly everybody in the town works at. So where you gonna go if you get fired, Tilly? You're not gonna have a job.
and your husband works there? It's not even like, oh, I have my job here at the prison and he works at the
Right.
factory down the road.
But yeah, not only that, but like multiple couples work there, right? So it's like this is the job to have, right? Because we see later, it's so funny. I was like, she worked there too when
Mm,
CO Palmer gives the painting to
yeah,
his girlfriend in the evening. You see that she has a CO outfit on too. So I'm like, she also works
also
at the
works
prison.
there. Yep.
Uh, everybody works there. All their friends.
Yep.
Everybody works there. There's nothing else to do. What you gonna go to the nail salon that you get your nails done at and ask for a job after this if you get fired? Like, I don't think you have other options, Tilly.
No. I understand they're in like a small town, but I need the wardrobe. You're working in a prison, and I understand we're not trying to slut shame, but also you're on the job, lady. I need you to be covering these them things up. I need you to
Oh
cover them
yeah,
things
she
up.
does get called out for it later on, which I was
Yes,
like, yes, thank you.
which I was waiting for someone to
Um,
do. I was like, girl,
right. You know there's a dress code.
right. And it ain't a spaghetti strap tank top and a cardigan, if a cardigan, or the super fit empire, whatever. Them things was thinging because she literally had them pushed up to high heaven. I was like, so I'm actually kind of surprised they don't have a uniform, even for the people that work like the
Yeah,
jobs, just
I was gonna say that. I was like,
doesn't feel
I feel
accurate,
like
but
there
maybe
would
I'm wrong.
be, yeah, it doesn't feel, I mean, every prison is different, but I remember in college I did this choice theory class and we had a project where we were working with inmates in Chico State's women's facility.
Okay.
And, even just on being going on as visitors, there was a very strict dress code. So I can't imagine that if you work there every day, you could walk in like we would have been turned away
Mm-hmm.
wearing what Tilly is wearing,
And
right? And
that
I
makes
remember them
sense.
being like, if you better follow this because if you get turned away, one, Chico is hours away from LMU.
Oh, so true.
So you're just going to be sitting on a bus. And guess what? You're also going to fail your project and fail this class because you won't be able to get it done if you don't get let
Y'all better
into the
dress right.
prison. So you better dress right. Right. And then they also, really interesting too, they were also, just side note, because we're talking about it, they also were like, the things that you couldn't wear were also just, because, what's not appropriate, but also you need to make sure that nothing that you're wearing makes you look too much like an inmate. So no sweats, no certain colors, because if there is a lockdown, guess what? They're not
They're just
checking
gonna
your
haul you
ID to
into a
make
cell and you're
sure you're
stuck.
not. Yeah. I was like, this is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, why did Palmer put Matt in that room? I know that they were worried about the paint supplies, but couldn't he have just taken the supplies and put them back there and let Ricky Matt stay in his room? I just didn't understand why he would compromise
Right.
the situation by putting him in a place that clearly connects to all these other cells. Like,
Yeah, that's the first and possibly biggest up of
yeah.
everybody here, because if he was like you said trying to hide it for him, give me those real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he thought it was better that he didn't touch him. I don't know.
But then the
So he
weird
wanted
part
to
is,
do him to
wouldn't you
himself.
think somebody would be like, "Where's Matt?" or "Why isn't he in the cell?" Like, where was
Well, they
everybody
did
supposed to be at
it
that point?
fast enough,
I guess so.
right? He got back to his cell fast enough. He was like, quick, quick, quick.
That whole thing just didn't make sense because they like had him hanging out back there, and he's hanging out long enough to go survey the whole hall and be like, "Oh, look at
Yeah.
this cells. Oh, they all connect. Oh, I didn't get
Yeah,
it."
I feel like there's like that. The reality of it is probably was not as imminent
Mm,
as it was, on the show,
yeah,
right? So that's like that tension build, like 5 minutes, quick, 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 right?
right.
In reality, it was probably like, hey, come, because we know he got access to it somehow, so he had to have had enough
Yeah,
time to find it in real life. So I don't think that's the part that's embellished. I think probably it's the other stuff.
right. Exactly. Not to mention, he has some paint supplies all the time. They don't confiscate them any other time. Everybody knows he's in there doing freaking oil paintings. Like, I don't understand why today they were like, they gonna throw away. You gotta come take it in this random back room and wait till I say come
Well,
out.
I think it also depends on who is
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
on shift, right? Because they also mention that Red is a dick and
That's true.
is
Okay.
gonna look,
Maybe that's why.
take that stuff.
All right. Okay. One, I was like, that probably was the worst atrocity anyone committed was letting him find out. Cause I'm like, if nothing else, even if escape wasn't something they tried to do, they could have used that to, ferry all kinds of stuff to sell or what do you call it? Contraband or whatever.
Right.
I, just wasn't wise. It just wasn't wise. Anyway, so CO Palmer, this is all your fault. We just have to let the buck stop where it's supposed to stop. This is on you. And then we mentioned it in the summary, but I was like, Tilly, you got a whole lot of nerve to come at Lyle
Yeah.
about anybody cheating.
Right.
I mean, we know she's projecting, but I'm just like, what exactly are you going to do if Lyle cheats on you? Leave him?
Right.
What was that even about? I sometimes just feel like she just wants him to be scared of her. Like, just put
She's
the.
just crabby all the time.
That's
She's
true
so mean
too.
to him.
And he tries so hard. God bless. He tries. I couldn't do it. I'd be like, you're the worst. I need to go. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this was the other part. The scene with Palmer and Sweat. I was like, dang, I thought you were cool. I mean, like, cool for a CO. And then you went and slammed this dude's head in the toilet. Why? For what? I mean, he was being mouthy, but you ain't have to throw his head in the toilet, crack a skull. I was like, never mind, you suck. Like, you're just like all the
Well,
rest.
I think, like I mentioned earlier about like people getting too comfortable, it's like just because you're friends with that guy doesn't mean you could talk to me like that. I think that's what that was about
That's
because it
true.
wasn't, he wouldn't have done that to Matt.
No, that's true. I mean, here's the thing. I saw it coming because he was pushing. And I was like, shut
Right.
up, shut up, shut up. I thought maybe he was just
Mhm.
going to shove him into a wall, but homeboy threw his head straight into the seat of the toilet. I was like, oh no. Okay, well, that's the end of that conversation. I couldn't work at a prison. I couldn't do it. I feel like it destroys your soul on either side. I just couldn't do it. So I'm like, again, the debasing you have to do with the people around you. And I know a lot of it is like fear and intimidation and all this stuff, but it just seems like no matter what aspect of it you work, it just makes you a worse person.
Right. It's
That's just my two
power.
cents. Yeah. So this was the scene I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
with Sweat,
With the art.
with the art. Cause he's like, oh, you do art too? Well, let me see that.
Right.
How
Oh,
much? And then
that's pretty good.
right. And then he was like, how much do you want from it? And I'm like, you should have asked for something. Like, why didn't you? He's like, you can just have it.
Yeah, he should have asked for something.
I'm surprised he didn't ask for a favor or at least maybe something for the floor where he's going. I don't know. I just thought that was a missed opportunity. I would have asked, or even just money for commissary. But I will give Sweat credit for this. When he went down to his new floor, I was very impressed by all his little hacks, how to like get your
Yeah.
room ready. I was like, oh, okay. I had to look some stuff up because I was like, okay, what does that do? What does baby powder on the floor do? Apparently, it's for bed bugs.
Yeah.
Didn't know that, and then did his homemade smoke bomb for the roaches. I was like, oh, that's smart.
Yep.
I don't know if any of these other folks are doing this in their prison cells, but it just shows that he clearly got a brain in there somewhere.
And he's been there very long.
And he's been
A
there
very
very
long
long.
time. Which when he gets moved and his replacement goes up to his cell, Matt's like, "What the heck? This top floor is for lifers."
Mm-hmm.
So
And then again, I love Reggie, even though that would be frustrating if, you have few pleasures in prison prison, and this man's just trying to read a book, just trying to relax,
Yeah,
trying to drown
I
out the
was
noise.
surprised it didn't lead to a physical altercation because,
Same.
again, in prison, it's like you only get so much. So, somebody spoiling the end of a book that you're currently reading, much
Mm.
bigger deal when that's all you got.
The
You know?
library is not huge. We get but so much. Um, okay, this is the beginning of my frustration with Ricky Matt. It makes sense for his character, but it's frustrating. You start to realize that this dude isn't all that smart, clearly doesn't think a lot of things through, and is willing to let everybody else do all the work for him.
Yeah,
He's a typical CEO. It's like ideation and that's it. You guys
yeah.
get to work. So I was just like, he's gonna frustrate me because you can already start to see all these little moments where it's like, I'm just going to delegate all the tasks to Sweat and hang back and just ideate and sip my booze and or my Aquafina, as he would call it.
Lord.
Anytime he had a bottle of Aquafina, y'all, that's liquor, but they would just call
Hooch.
it Aquafina, putting it in their coffee, putting it in their water bottles, putting it in their thermos, just drinking all day. Okay, and then the daughter scene, the call scene, was the most cringy, awkward thing,
Terrible.
the most cringy, awkward thing they could put in the show. It was just so. I was like, okay, girl, you are calling Mexico. You're calling international, number one. You don't speak Spanish, number two. You don't
No,
even know
no
if this story
hablo.
is real,
No,
number
no
three.
hablo. Right, you don't know if this story is real. That's a big one.
She's
Or
like, I
how old this picture is, who this number is. You know what I mean?
none of it.
This,
No details.
yeah.
I'm gonna call. I'm taking good care of him. Don't you worry.
Mhm.
he's my friend. I hope you understand. I
Yes,
was like,
he's okay. You understand that? Yes.
it was, oh, I hated, and it went on for so long, and I was like, just hang up the phone. Someone hang up the phone. I hate this. I hate it. And then proud as can be goes back and I called your daughter. I told him, and I said you loved him and I was taking good care of you.
Right. You didn't even talk to her. What do you saw
You
when
don't
she
even know
came
if she
back to him?
understood
I was
one
like,
word.
you're lying too because you talked to who you thought was her mother, but
Exactly.
you don't know who you were talking to. And that lady probably didn't understand a thing you said. And you were talking about the tiny, tiny bit of Spanish you did say, you didn't even say
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. Ugh, frustrating. I was like, this is white woman nonsense at its finest. Like, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna solve it. I know exactly what to do, even though I have absolutely no idea at all what to do. I'm just gonna step into the situation
And it made
and
me go back to the little bit of the interrogation that we get in the first episode where she's trying to act like she didn't have anything to do with these inmates and she gets asked point blank like, have you had any sexual relations with these inmates? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then she starts like fake crying. It was like,
oh my
well, inmate
gosh, the
Matt,
fake tears.
he tried to kiss me. And Tilly, we haven't gotten to it yet, but Tilly is so much more than that. But this, her lying to him, I was just like, she's a terrible liar. He knows this didn't happen, but he's gonna play along with it because he wants you to think that you
Mm-hmm.
actually did this.
And the fake tears happen often, you guys, over
Oh my gosh.
everything.
Oh my gosh.
Everything. Fake crying. I'm gonna lose my job. You're gonna you're gonna take my job. Oh, oh, or what was the lady that she hates? What's her name?
Evelyn.
Mulvaney.
No, Eileen. Eileen.
Eileen
God damn
Mulvaney.
Eileen.
Anytime that lady comes in, talks to her and leaves, I go crying to the restroom. The crocodile tears were, again, they made sense for the character, but they were killing me. Okay. So we don't need to get into the hacksaw blades because we're about to get into it next episode. But I was surprised at how easily he got over the riff with him and Sweat. Like I thought he was going to make him have to do him a favor to get back in his good graces.
He needs him. He knows he
Ricky,
needs him.
well, also Ricky Matt seems pretty. I have yet to see him. I know that he's been there a long time and clearly he's ascended to the position because seniority. But usually those dudes also like they're ready to square up if they need to. So I've been waiting to see a scene where you can see why he's a threat to be reckoned with in this prison, and I have not gotten it yet. With
I
Angel,
think
kind of
it's
got there, but it was mostly talk. You know, it
well,
was Palmer that stepped
I
in.
I think it's because he's a lifer and he probably hasn't had to do it in a
Mm,
long time because the
okay.
threat of it is enough. There's enough people there who are like,
Can
eh.
vouch for a previous.
When even a CO is like, the CO's holding you back, you
True.
don't have to see what that guy is doing if the CO is stepping in between you and being like, cool it. It's not worth it.
True. Or I guess even like the currying of favor. Because when Angel came back, right, and he made
Hmm.
him kind of do the apology, and he was like, "Say exactly what I say. Say what you want. No,
Hmm.
exactly as I said it." And he did the same thing with Sweat. I was like, "Is that all he needs for people to say what he said?" Like I was expecting them to have to do him a favor to prove loyalty or fealty before they could get back in his good graces, and that didn't happen. So I was like,
Yeah, that makes sense with Angel, but with Sweat again, he already knows what his plan is and he needs him.
I
So
guess so.
he's not making him jump through hoops for it.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. Especially after we see later how much work Homeboy is putting in by comparison. So, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Episode 3 opens with Tilly getting her nails done and listening in on two women who are clearly from out of town. She interrupts them to confirm their residency and then mentions that her family has lived up there for 300 years. The women indulge her temporarily, but it's clear that they really could care less. And then they find a way to kind of box her out of the conversation. Meanwhile, we pop over to the prison and we see Richard Matt and C.O. Palmer watching a home improvement show. And Matt is attempting to persuade Palmer to get Sweat back into his old cell and get rid of Scary Gary. He sucks. He
Hmm.
screams in the middle of the night. We hate it. So Palmer denies him, saying it'll make him look bad since he just got Sweat moved out. Then we see Tilly head to a grocery store to purchase a single pack of ground beef. Her next stop, a hardware store, where she attempts to find a hacksaw blade without garnering too much attention, which she fails to do. A saleswoman attempts
Terrible.
to offer her help, but Tilly just is like hemming and hawing, I think I might need it for. And then she eventually just grabs a saw just to get this lady off her back. But, she just makes it even worse when she shows up at the checkout line just minutes later with the hacksaw blades, and the same woman who was trying to help her is also ringing her up. And she's like, ma'am, this is a hacksaw blade, right? She's like, just,
Right,
just
like
bring it up. She attempts to pay cash, but she does not have enough. So she then has to use her credit card, which
idiot.
potentially could be leaving a traceable record. Yeah, dumb. At home, Tilly then hides the pieces of the hacksaw blade inside the package of ground beef. Next thing we see is Richard Matt, who is secretly summoning Angel to do a floor sweep exchange of what looks like a bag of chips. Angel walks up to the lifer floor and enters a room where he opens the chip bag and removes a wad of paper filled with matches. He lights it with a lighter and throws it into the cell and leaves it to burn up Scary Gary's room. The next day, Tilly gets her meat package through security and tells CO Gene Palmer she's leaving it in the fridge for Ricky Matt, asking him to deliver it to him. Palmer complies, eventually taking it to Matt's cell, and also remarks while he's there on the mysterious fire that got Scary Gary booted and Sweat back in, which Matt vehemently denies having anything to do with. Matt later reveals the hacksaw blades that were inside the meat that he was able to procure, and he gets them over to Sweat as Sweat is getting settled in. And he starts indicating what his true plan is, which is we're going to cut into these walls, we're going to pop into that hall. So Sweat starts working on creating handles so that they can kind of more finely work with them from a tight space. And he gives half of the blades to Matt and keeps half for himself. And they begin cutting into the walls in intervals. Next, we're at a bar, and Tilly and Lyle are double dating with Greg and his wife, girlfriend, not sure.
Girlfriend.
And Greg pulls Tilly aside to confront her about the meat package delivery, telling Tilly that next time she needs to just get somebody else to do it. He doesn't want any part of it. At the same time, Sweat and Matt are going down to explore the tunnel. They finally get the holes popped open in their cells and they head down to go see what's what. At one point, they end up going separate ways just so they can each see how far the path they take get them. And in the morning, they report back. So above ground, they can see how far they got. At home, Lyle discovers the dog portrait that Matt painted for Tilly and confronts Richard Matt at the prison. And it's a very awkward scene. But Matt is able to lie and convince him that he painted it for Tilly because she commissioned him to do it as an anniversary gift. And Lyle accepts this excuse like a dummy. Meanwhile, Matt confesses to Sweat that he and Tilly are having sex, but that she feels guilty for essentially cheating on him, not so much about cheating on her husband.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt encourages Sweat to lean into the fact that Tilly is all horned up for the two of them and asks him to give her something that smells like him. On another night of exploring the hidden catwalk within the prison, Sweat follows the path as far as it can go until he hits a literal brick wall. He then relays this to Matt the next morning, but Matt says it's just an obstacle that they got to overcome and that he found a toolbox down there that they can pick the lock and get into and hopefully find something that'll help. He then tells Palmer that Sweat is sick and he needs time to go back up to his cell and rest, which really is just time for him to go explore while nobody's there. So
Mm-hmm.
we then get a montage of Sweat breaking brick walls and sweating and trying to get further down the road. It's being intercut with Tilly sending nudes on a Polaroid and flirtatious notes back and forth. It's weird, but at this point, not surprising. And she's giving these notes and pictures to Matt, who gives them to Sweat, and Sweat is getting those and going down to the tunnel and breaking bricks with a sledgehammer. It's a whole thing. And Matt does eventually give Tilly, I think, a shirt of his. And anyway, this is quite the tangled web they have now woven between the three of them. So Sweat finally unearths more tunnel. He gets further down the path and then he fully dead ends, but it's not a brick wall that's standing in front of him. It is 7 feet of reinforced concrete that stands between them and freedom. He brings Ricky down the next night to show him that with this in the way, best case scenario, they'll get through it in 5 years. Ricky, once again, is undeterred and he says that they can trade off going at it with a sledgehammer, but they're going to go through. But David then comes up with a better idea to use it more like a hammer and chisel, and they get to chiseling into the cement wall. Oh, and then the next day, Ricky goes and runs off his big old drunk mouth to Tilly about their plan. Dumb, dumb, dumb.
So when Lyle confronts Matt about the painting,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, you convinced him. Good job. But then he doesn't tell Tilly why
Right?
or what reason he gave. He's just like, don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry about it. And she's like, don't, tell me. And he's like, don't worry about it. And I was like, that's gonna come back to bite her in the ass. Because what happens in the anniversary when he's waiting? It immediately made me think of this is so silly, but it made me think of Love Actually, where
Okay.
she's expecting, oh shoot, what is her name? I see her face clear as day. Wow, all of the names just went out of my head. I'm not doing this.
Are
Hold
we
on.
thinking Emma? Are we
Oh,
thinking
yeah, yes,
um
yes.
okay.
Emma. What is that? Is she one of the Emmas? No, yes.
Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Is it Emma Thompson's character?
I
Yes,
don't
Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson
okay.
is expecting to open up the box and see the necklace that her husband bought her.
Right.
Didn't buy her. Buy his mistress or
Mistress.
soon to be
Mm-hmm.
mistress, and it's a Joni Mitchell album. And I was like, so what happens? What happens when Lyle is waiting on your anniversary day
Yeah.
to receive the gift that he already knows he's getting, and then he doesn't get the gift because it's not actually for him because you didn't tell Tilly that you told him that the gift that it was a gift for him. And I was like, it's gonna bite you in the balls.
What was the point of hiding it or not being transparent about what he said? I just didn't understand why he was being all
Because
dodgy
he's
about it.
stupid.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he's stupid. They're all stupid.
Yeah,
No.
agree.
Actually, I think Sweat is probably the only one that's not
Sweat
stupid.
Sweat is the only one who's not stupid, and I can attest to that. Especially further down the road, we'll see just how not stupid he is, but he's the only one because he's surrounded by idiots and it's very frustrating. But okay. So speaking to the Sweat being smart part, this was the thing that I found interesting. And I think this is where, again, they start dropping more hints between last episode and this of like how intelligent he is in terms of like streetwise intelligent, but also like thinks through the plan and has
Mm-hmm.
actionable steps ready. So you see the contrast between once they get the blades and they start getting ready to cut into the walls. Ricky immediately just starts going at it, not even thinking about who's around, what to do, da 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 da. He just starts drilling in versus the night that Sweat starts doing his leg of the cutting into his cell. He, before he even starts, he finds a bunch of magnets, puts them on a piece of tape, uses it to
Mm-hmm.
catch the metal dust so there's no traces of it on the ground, rinses it
Yeah.
down the sink. He tapes up his bedposts or like the feet of his bed. So when he slides his bed out, it doesn't make a sound. It doesn't distract. People don't know that he's moving his bed. Like he's just thinking through all these precautions so much more clearly than anything Ricky's doing. And that's where it became evident to me like, okay, if they do escape, which I assume they do, because again, that's the whole name of the show, to whatever degree that they do, one of these dudes is going about this so much more smartly than the other. And I'm just very concerned once they get to the other side of this, how that's going to affect the rest of Set Escape. Like if they get out, I can't see him and Ricky being able to go about this the same way because one of them very much wants to have a plan and the other one's just like bullheadedly running full steam ahead, not stopping to
Yeah.
think. So I just don't, I'm very curious. And I don't even know if they fully get out. I don't know if they make it, if they even touch grass or see air or whatever. But if they don't get out, I wouldn't be surprised if it's because Ricky Matt effed it up somehow because he's just a big dummy, bullheaded dodo who doesn't think stuff through. Anyway, I just found it interesting because I felt like they're already starting to drop hints about how different these two are in terms of how they approach things.
Yeah.
But again, we'll see. I guess the time and the episodes will tell. Okay, so this is the part that I was saying in the previous episode with Tilly and David, because when Ricky goes to talk to David about the fact that he's banging Tilly now,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt like he kind of had a look and then he tried to play it off with like, so why am I supposed to care about that? So in that little glimpse of a moment, I was like, wait, does he care? Or is he just, or does he not really not care? Because there was like a
In
pause.
the way that a dog cares for a second that another dog pissed in the same spot they pissed, maybe, but I don't think it's feelings for Tilly specifically.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mean
It
that with
is
any
true.
disrespect
No,
to
it's true.
Tilly. I just mean like I think it's a
More
territorial
territorial
thing.
thing. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Oh,
That was terrible. Oh my gosh.
that was
I
the
mean,
best.
not
That was
that
the
Tilly
best
will ever
illustration you
know,
could
but
give me.
I was like, damn, that's mean. That's up. I don't mean anything about
But
Tilly.
I don't think you're wrong. I think that that reads more right to me because I think that's where I was trying to figure it out because I was like, I don't think he really cares that much about her. But then what's the face
Yeah,
about? But maybe it is
right.
like the marking territory. Okay. All right. I can get my head around. Um, all right. And then do you remember the end part with Tilly and Ricky when he finally tells her they're getting out of there and all this other stuff, and she kind of can't tell if he's serious or not. And then when he's like, "Yeah, it'll be in 5 years," and she's like, "Well, I'll check back with you in two and see where you're at." And then
Hmm.
before they leave, he does the weird thing where he's like, "Don't tell anybody," but he does it in such a weird, silly way that it didn't feel ominous, but it didn't feel. I couldn't. It was a weird. It was a weird moment, and I couldn't. I watched it twice because I was like, am I missing it? It just seems silly. And it seemed, honestly, it just seemed like he was drunk. And he clearly is. But like, I couldn't tell if it was like, I'm so drunk and I'm trying to be intimidating, but it's not coming out right. That's what it felt like. Or if it was him trying to be playful, but also like, but I
Yeah,
mean it, but I'll kill you. I don't know. It was weird.
I read it as like, does he think he's like, because there were other moments, and I wish I had written them down. There were other moments where it seems like he was trying to be like suave with her, and it didn't come across like that. And I felt like it was like
What's that? This
trying to be like flirtatious. Don't tell
it was
anybody.
so confusing. It
It was
had
weird.
confusing energy because it did seem like that playful thing you do to be like, eh? yeah, you better not. Don't tell anybody. Ha ha. But there wasn't the
Hmm.
ha ha and there wasn't the ominous. So it just looked like a drunk man saying weird things. And then you're just kind of like,
I mean,
what was
it was
that?
probably, I mean, that's probably it. It was
Okay.
probably just a drunk man saying weird things then.
Okay. It was just such an odd. There's so many moments and choices that are made throughout this series that I can't fully get my head around in terms of like what was the choice here? What was
Hmm.
why did we do that? And this was definitely one of those moments where I was like, why did we do that? Because I could see him going full intimidation. I could also see him being like charming, but then like having that menacing look at the end, like,
Hmm.
but serious. Um, but it was neither of those things. It just it looks like when a kid tries to act like they're being scary
Yeah.
and they're not, but also it's a grown man that whatever. It was a weird choice. It was a choice. No shade to Benicio del Toro. I know he is a very gifted actor, but that was a choice and I couldn't get my head around it. All right, I didn't have much else. Did you for part 3?
No, I mean, Tilly and the Polaroids.
Oh god, good grief.
And then I was just like, you doing this in your bedroom at home, and Lyle gonna walk in on you taking pictures of your cooch. What? What? And I was really hoping there was a scene where Sweat just like opened one of them and was like, ill, and threw it or something.
I was waiting for something like, oh, okay. Well, tell her thanks. But yeah, they did never show his reaction or responses. And also, she was doing it in like, not to get too nitpicky about how one should send nudes. I can't speak to it all that much, but like, I'm just logistically as a photographer thinking to myself, okay, you just shoved a camera under your skirt. Is that catching anything? Like, are you getting anything other than thigh meat? I was like, is that sexy? I don't know. So I just feel like, especially with a
She don't know
Polaroid,
either.
you're right. You're right. That's probably most of what those photos were was just like squished thigh meat and like half boob. Um, Whatever. He likes it. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, that's
All
it.
right.
That's all I got.
Well, let's bring it on home with part 4. Okay,
Whew.
here we go. So, while Sweat continues to work on breaking through that final wall standing between him and freedom, Lyle tries desperately to woo Tilly by learning how to make her favorite drink, a margarita. And Tilly is not impressed. He didn't make it right, but he's trying, y'all. Lyle
He
is
is
trying.
trying so hard.
Um, and Sweat begins to express concern to Matt about them getting caught before they're able to break through the wall because obviously, if it's going to take years, like this is a problem. And Matt tells him he needs to think it, and it will be. And so apparently, Ricky Matt has read The Secret. He's like, The Secret? He's like, The Secret, like Oprah? And he's like, yeah, The Secret. Anyway, um, Tilly's supervisor, Eileen, comes down on her about low production, and Tilly and Matt talk about plans for houses and cows in Mexico. And so now in this plan, Tilly is coming with them, like it's grown and grown. Yeah, he's and Matt has added her as a +1 to this this
And did not
situation.
talk it through with his partner.
Yes, we see that later. So, seeing that the progress on the concrete wall is fruitless, Sweat comes up with a new plan to cut through the steam pipe that they passed through earlier when they passed by earlier when they first get down there, and it's like blazing hot. Well, it's used to heat the whole prison, but now we've gotten all the way to June. It is the summertime, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not on during the summer. So, he's like, we can cut through this, and he has estimated that this will cut their planned escape down from a few years to maybe just a few weeks. So, back in the tailor shop, Co Lambert, this is actually Lambert now, has quit. Apparently, he is tired of covering up for Tilly's indiscretions. Again,
Fair.
he's a coward. He was like, instead of telling Lyle about it, he's just like, I'm just not going to see it so I don't have to keep lying about him. That's my friend. I don't want to lie to him. So
So
I'm
I will lie
just,
by omission.
I'm right. I'm gonna just leave. I'm gonna just leave so I don't have to cover up no more lies. Okay. Um, I think also he was like, she just picked it right back up again after Sweat. It should have been over after Sweat got relocated, but now you in there with
He
Matt all the
said,
time.
"Oh, I can't."
But so meanwhile, Tilly and Lyle's son comes home to visit. I can't remember. He's in the military somewhere.
Yes.
Poor Lyle is asking him, like, is there anything your mom talks about, like any complaints? Like he's trying to get some
Is there
tips
anything I can
from
do
his
to make her not so angry with me?
right. He's trying to get tips from his son, and his son is just like, well, your anniversary's coming up. You should make a big move, Pa. He doesn't say it like that. I don't remember, but he's like, now's your chance. Um, Back in the prison, CO Palmer confronts inmate Matt about his friendship with Tilly and lets him know that he better stop it now and he doesn't have to keep playing Mr. Nice CO. Okay.
Hmm.
He can shut this down at any time.
Right.
And at night, Sweat just continues to work tirelessly to cut through that steam pipe, and he finally makes it through the first side of the pipe and enters the pipe to explore and try to find the perfect spot to cut through the opposite end. This was, by the way, another scene that just went on too long for me.
Agree.
And back at the tailor shop, Tilly is complaining to Matt again about quotas. She's worried about being fired because now, since she hasn't met quota in the last 3 months, since Sweat was removed and replaced by Murder, and she's lost all control over the shop, and production is at an all-time low. And you can see in the shop that nobody is doing anything they're supposed to do. They only start working when Eileen comes in.
Hmm.
So she has lost all control, and Matt promises to take care of it. And the way he does this is he snitches on him to the Lambert's, the CO that's their
The
replacement.
new CEO, yeah.
And we don't know what for. We just know it's something bad because it gets him fired immediately. And not only is he fired, but he's landed some time in the box. Then later, Tilly waits outside of Sweat's job. Sweat has gotten a replacement job in the library, by the way. And she lets him know that Matt updated her about the plan and she can't wait and da 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 da. And it's very clear that Sweat was not aware that Matt had
Mm-mm.
shared. He was under the impression that they were giving her other reasons for the things that they were needed. Like she's supposed to be thinking that
You're
you're
making picture
using
frames.
blades to make picture frames, right, for painting, and that's how it started. Um, but at the end of the last episode, he was a drunken fool and spilled it all. So anyway, at this point, we get a montage of Sweat is continuing to make progress, and he's working through the pipes, and it's going cutting between that and the tailor shop is everyone's back to work, and it's running smoothly. And okay, getting rid of Murder has clearly fixed the production problem, and also Tilly is working out, and she's getting her hair done and she's trying on lingerie because she can't wait to prepare herself for the day that she and Sweat can be together on the outside. It's a
Hmm.
little much. It's a little much.
Hmm.
Um, and then we come to the day of Lyle and Tilly's anniversary. Tilly wakes up early and leaves before Lyle can greet her. She just doesn't want to interact with him at all. And poor Lyle makes dinner reservations, but at the end of the day, Tilly stands him up and she goes to a bar in the next town over and has an interesting conversation with that bartender. Another maybe extra long scene. And then when Tilly gets home, Lyle has dinner waiting for her because, again, he's still trying, guys. He's still trying so hard. And she's drunk and doesn't care about the effort that Lyle is putting in
Not at all.
at all. Lyle pulls out the painting and he's just like, what? It was for me anyway. And she's like, what are you talking about? Stop going through my stuff. Don't go through my stuff, Lyle. And just like storms off. And so I was like, see, there it is. She didn't play along because she didn't
Exactly.
know. Um, But then the episode ends with Sweat finally making it through the other end of that steam pipe.
All right, so we're wrapping up episode 4. Um, Lyle.
Lyle.
First off, Tilly had me dead when she tasted that margarita and said it tastes like a cat pissed on a salt lick. And I was like, that's
And
graphic, but I understand.
Lyle's like, oh, he said salt. And she's like,
Would you just
around
dump
the
it all in?
right, around the
Around the
rim,
rim.
Lyle. Did you dump it in? And then you could tell from Lyle's face that he dumped it in. He surely did. Poor Lyle.
And Lyle's just sipping on it. He's having a good
He's
time. He's
like,
like, I
it's,
can't tell the
it's
difference. It's
pretty
pretty
good.
good to me. Oh gosh. But and then the worst part is that afterwards he's like hoping maybe I'll get lucky. I made her a drink, da da da.
Lord.
And she pushed him off so quick and was like, don't even try it. Don't even think about it. Poor Lyle is just unlucky in love. And he's married. This is his wife. And he's just got to go to bed, just like maybe tomorrow. Maybe next time. But he just looks so sad. And at this point, I'm like, just cut him loose, Tilly. Like, dang, this is so unfair to him. It's so unfair. And Lyle's just too happy go lucky. He'll never pull the trigger, right? Like, he's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
the one to leave her. He'd rather just suffer silently for years and years. And I don't know how long they've been empty nesters with their son uh being in the
Yeah,
military. Like, I don't know if he's been gone out of the house for a while. I don't know.
sounds like it.
It's very recent. Yeah. So who knows how long it's been like this. But I feel for Lyle. Again, not the sharpest tool in the shed, but every tool needs some love. Also, Ricky and Tilly deserve each other. They both frustrate me to no end. They're both narcissists, and I just can't stand them. And I'm
But
like,
Tilly don't even want him.
no, and that's the thing, because she clearly is very oddly very stuck on Sweat.
Oh my gosh.
And it's so funny when they start having their little Mexico talk, and Matt's all like, "Oh, it's gonna be the three of us, and you can just go from one house to the other." She's like, "You know that I'm gonna be with David once we get over. I'll stay with you until you find somebody, but then it'll be me and David." Like it just was so like the fantasy element there.
Yeah.
She's just so stuck on the one guy. But the funny part to me was like just her, I don't, just their whole little envisioning and the cows and giving the townspeople cows. And oh, if you give them cows, they'll give you whatever you want. And I was like, where in Mexico are y'all going? Like,
Right. It made me wonder. I was like, this man is full of shit. He's probably not ever actually been to
I
Mexico.
honestly wonder. I do wonder. And he is the type of dude that seems like he would lie about something like that. So, you know, maybe he has some relatives there, best case scenario.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's had a lived experience there. And if he
I'm
has, how
I'm
recent?
willing to bet if he has any connections there, they probably also know that his
That's
name is
true. Hacksaw?
Hacksaw and why. I'm gonna willing to bet they don't want to
Have
associate
anything?
or help him out. Yeah,
Probably not. I'm gonna say probably
and
not.
especially not the gringos he's bringing with him.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. You come in here, you escape from prison, and you're bringing white people with you, sir. What do you want us to do? Like, what do you expect us to do? Oh, and then the other thing that had me was their final conversation, her and Ricky, and he gives her the pills and says they're sleeping pills. And the first thing I thought to myself was, you don't know that. You don't know that. It could be
Right, you
cyanide.
don't know that.
It could be anything. Is she going to just give her husband these pills and hope that they don't kill him? And then what's the
Right,
plan? That part,
right,
I was like, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, yeah, if they were some other kind of drugs that paralyze him or who knows what.
right. You don't like how much could they actually have access to that is a legitimate okay sleeping pill?
Exactly, exactly. So I will see, I guess. I wouldn't trust the word of a convict, especially one that is actively in prison. and and again, these pills are not marked. They didn't come in a bottle. You don't know what these are. Please do not give them to your husband, even if you barely care for him at all. Care a little, care a little not to do this to your husband because you do not know what these pills are or what they will do.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. It was a relief to see Sweat finally get to the end of this pipe. I think these 4 episodes, like I said at the top, have all been like a simmering, slow burn of will they, won't they get through this tunnel? But it took so long to will they. and,
Yeah.
and I feel like this could have been compressed. In my opinion, I know I'm almost at the end and without giving anything away, but like I honestly feel like at best this could have been a 4-part series
Yeah, see, here's the thing. Like it wasn't I think my frustration with it is that it wasn't even a will they won't they because we
because
know
we
it's
know they,
based on a real story,
yeah, yeah,
right? So it was
yes,
like, where's the this is not tension building, it's just like, come on, get to it already. I was like, my gosh, I really didn't think it was gonna take as long to get to the actual seeing through of the plan.
yeah, it did take a while. And like I appreciate the obstacles, but it's just funny because like you said, there were time markers and then there weren't. So there was a lot of time
Hmm.
jumping when we didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And yet it still felt like forever. It's like
Hmm.
we could have jumped ahead a lot. We could have skipped some things, and this could easily, I think, have been a 2.5 hour movie or a four
Hmm.
part miniseries. I don't think it needed to be 7+1 episodes.
7A and 7B.
So that's just my opinion. I'm no showrunner. I'm no Ben Stiller. I didn't, or the guys that wrote it, I wouldn't know, but I feel like we could have tailored this down a considerable amount.
I also liked going back and forth between the interrogation of Tilly in the first episode, and I was like, "Oh, Bonnie Hunt hasn't popped up again. Why
Right.
aren't we? Why aren't we going back to present day yet?" I
Right.
thought we were going to be going
Going back and
continuing
forth a
to go
lot.
back and forth. So I was
Same.
like, "Oh, that was a
Same.
bummer."
And Bonnie Hunt was doing so well as
Uh-huh.
the what was her role? She wasn't a DA. She was like she
She's
worked for the
the
state, like the state inspector or something like that. Something like that.
is
State
that the
investigator.
post office?
Yeah.
What is she? Not attorney general. It's oh my gosh, I'm trying to scroll all the way up. She's Lord. Oh yeah, it's not in that part. Hold on. Inspector General.
Okay.
So she explains that her job is to look at in like internal affairs. And Tilly is a dummy and doesn't realize that that means like she's talking to you because you work at the prison and you committed a crime. Okay, that's why she's not
Not
the
just
regular cops.
to shoot
So
the
you work
breeze.
for the post office? No.
But I did love her in that role. So yeah, I was thinking we were going to get more of her. It was a little disappointing that so far we have not gotten more. I assume we'll
Hmm.
get more in the second half, but I don't know how
Yeah.
much more. From what I've seen, just for clarity's sake, I won't say why. There's only one episode that makes me think, oh, maybe that's why they chose an episodic format instead of like a feature film
Mm.
format, even though I still feel like there maybe could have been a way to do that not episodically. But again, even if they did do it episodically, I still think you could have done it in 4. And that could have just been one of the 4 that you focus in on. But it just, I don't want to say it drags because it was interesting enough for me to not just be like, I cannot watch this. Because I've had some movies that you're really just like, I'm falling asleep. I'm not even noticing things that are happening. My attention is like all over the place. It's holding my attention enough, but just barely.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have continued this had it not been for the podcast, if I'm
That
100%
is
honest, which is
fair.
disappointing given the amount of crime
You do
made for,
consume.
things consume,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's a
I
good
was
point.
like, oh, yeah, once I realized, oh, it's a prison escape, oh, based on a true story? Bet, let's get into it. And then I was like, well, I gotta rewatch the first episode because I know I missed a lot of stuff because I was not paying attention because it's
Very true.
hard
Very
to keep my
true.
attention on it.
Very true. That is true.
I have watched episode 5. I still need to watch 6, 7A, and 7B.
7-1 and 7-2, part 8, episode 1 of 7, part whatever. I do feel like the more exciting things are coming in the back half.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why 4 episodes for this buildup just didn't need to be.
Right.
Because the stuff you want to see is coming in the back half.
Yeah, I'm ready to see how they get caught. I'm ready to see more of the explosion.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's coming. So yeah. So these these are episodes 1 through 4. Clearly we are super excited about them. We're endorsing this and talking this up so much. You guys must be so ready to go see it. I don't know. You might watch it. It's one of those like put on in the background, do your
Yeah.
laundry, and you probably won't miss much in the 10 minutes that you look away. And you'll when you come back, you'll probably still be in the same place you were. I don't know. Again, we'll see if the second half of it justifies the first, and maybe that'll be the tell us like, okay, you got to get through these 4 episodes to get to the 4 that matter. And if you can do that, then it's worth a watch. We'll see.
Listen, I'll say this much. The cast is doing a great job
Yes, that I
because
agree.
I mean, we hate them for a reason. It's not because it's bad. They're doing a good job at playing these terrible people, okay?
Oh, excuse me.
It's just
Yes.
it's just it's just the flow is not there for me.
No, no, that's true. That is true. So yeah, it is shot. There's a lot of interesting, DP and directing choices.
Hmm.
Again, it is being very well acted and performed. It just tighten that script, tighten that script.
Tighten it up.
And then we'll be in business. But who am I to say? We're just 2 podcasters with opinions. So anyway, guys, this is Escape at Dannemora part 1. How will we explain this?
This is the UUR Escapes from Dannemora. It's part
There,
1.
there it is.
It's Escape at Dannemora, parts 1 through 4.
This needs to be the title. It's so long. It's going to cut off on Spotify. Parentheses. Oh boy. Anyway, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed our little dive into these 4 episodes, and hopefully you'll come back to hear what we have to say for the last part.
Hmm.
If you are not following us on social media, please do come chat with us, hang out with us, see what we're up to, etc. You can follow us at the UUR Pod on the following accounts: Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, Lemonade, Instagram. We are there sharing videos, sharing podcast stuff, getting people's opinions. Definitely would love to hear feedback from you guys on how the Between Floors content is going for you guys right now. We're trying to mix it up, trying to find some stuff. You can also email us at theuurpod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts there. And if you feel inclined, you can also become a patron at patreon.com/theuurpod. You can join the Severed Floor tier, and that's where you'll get extended cuts of our episodes. You'll get early access to bonus content, and any other little things, tidbits we decide to throw over there as little goodies for you guys. Otherwise, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much.
This has been the UUR, and remember, learn the basics. And then if you want to go disco, go disco.
There you go. See you guys next time.